tremendous looking trophy.
Welcome to the number one PlayStation podcast in the Oceanias. My name is Owen Blight. Joining me, Ashley Hobley.
Hey Dylan, excited to be here post PAX.
Pew, pew.
Like a week and a bit removed.
Pew, 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 pew.
Unpre-recorded.
Pew,
Well,
pew.
I mean, they're all pre-recorded.
Well, yeah, I was about to say, none of them are live. Oh, except for the ones that actually are live. The couple that actually are, yeah. It's not like we tried to hide it. Everyone knew. I said, didn't we? I can't remember. It was did we record last week's episode? Didn't we mention it?
It was harsh seeing all the backlash against our list. The games that were missing.
Well, no, I got fucking slack. Buddy Watson ended up in my DMs. Oh, fucking The Witness. Oh, fucking Rocket League. Oh, fucking this, all that. Shush. I was like, it's not. He was trying. You were trying to do it the whole, oh, we've got to let Rocket League. None of us care about Rocket League. Really. Fine,
I think millions of players will disagree. But
none of us. Us being the plural of the two people sitting here right now.
Well, I cared about it.
Yeah, not enough. All right, you're a real soccer player. You're a real soccer fan, not a RC car soccer fan. On the show this week, bronze trophy for knowing when Death Stranding review embargo is a silver trophy for the PS5 Devkit pictures appearing and making a V. Gold trophy for developers getting around trophy limitations, and we hit a platinum for our PAX Australia time last year. Yes, PAX. So let's jump into that. PAX 2019 PlayStation breakdown. Lots to talk about. There was lots there. Being a little bit sarcastic. So overall, Ash, do you want to? What were your thoughts on what they had on show?
Oh, what PlayStation had?
Yeah, if you want to give a thumbs up, a thumbs down, a middle road, how would you feel about what PlayStation had?
I would be in the middle, I guess. They had two huge titles in Final Fantasy VII and
Marvel's Avengers. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess neither that are first party.
Yeah.
Which I guess it was kind of unavoidable, although Last of Us is only 4 or 5 months away.
Yeah.
They did have, obviously, a bunch of the smaller games. They had Dreams on display. They had Concrete Genie on display. Both which are technically out at the moment. So I guess it's more of a marketing thing, like get people hands-on who are waiting or hanging around the booth. Mm-hmm. Or there was that other game with the skeleton that was there as well. Yeah, Iron Man VR was the other huge title there, for at least for us, and I think that was the most important thing because I actually got hands-on time with that one.
Yeah. So I it's the same between PlayStation and Microsoft. I would say if you had to pick who won on like a first party showing, I would definitely say that Nintendo won by what they had on a first party perspective because they had like Luigi's Mansion and Pokemon and Hollow Knight, Silksong, I guess. No, it's not first party, but
no.
Switcher was there, which people were seemingly excited about, and whatever else. So they had stuff that was upcoming that was exclusive to their platform, or like new ports like The Witcher and whatever else. Overwatch. PlayStation's biggest things were not first party, even though they have these massive first party games coming out. Even like Death Stranding, which is out in 3 weeks? Roughly, I guess, at this stage. Yeah. And they didn't have that on show, which was weird. They didn't even have like a video playing or anything like that. I found it quite odd because I fully expected to go in and be like, oh, there's no gameplay. I didn't expect there would be gameplay. I expected they would have a TV somewhere just looping a video or something. Yeah, something like that. Some promotion. Instead, they just had like one big
just replay that same Twitch stream you had.
Yeah.
That's all you need to do.
Just make the hands disappear slowly over the end of the day, each day.
Yeah.
Instead, they just had this giant like LCD poster, I guess, or whatever it was.
And they had the PlayStation there.
Yes, and they had the exclusive PlayStation there and like a little thing, and that was it for Death Stranding, which is their biggest game coming out this year. So that was quite weird. Yeah. So overall, much like PAX this year, I'd say that PlayStation's showings was like very much, yeah, we're reaching the end of the life cycle, and next year we'll have next gen consoles here. So it's like potter. But it just feels weird when you still have Death Stranding and Last of Us and Ghost of Tsushima and whatever else that's apparently still coming, and there's like no signs of any of these things that are coming up.
I know we're at the end of the generation, but do you think they'd put more effort in things? This is the point in the console cycle where you've got the most consoles out in the wild. So why wouldn't you be putting as much marketing in now as you can to the biggest player base possible?
Yeah.
And it kind of doesn't make sense.
It was a bit weird. And like, I appreciate some things like, so the full list of what they had there, quickly, because there's a couple of things we missed amongst all that was, Final Fantasy VII was the biggest thing, I'd say. Marvel's Avengers would be the second biggest thing. And they had Neo 2, although the promotion or the signage for that was basically non-existent, and it was very easy to miss that they even had it there. It was just like off. It was weird. Their booth was kind of placed weirdly this year, I thought. Like, it was like Neo 2, is that there? Yeah, okay. Well, a lot of people wouldn't even know.
It was kind of like how they had it last year with what's the game? Sekiro. They had like a couple of booths of Sekiro there, just in the middle, hidden away, kind of.
I guess kind of, but it's like you could walk through the middle and at least find it. This Neo thing was like the line up in a weird spot or whatever. I don't know. But I guess from a top-down point of view, the the PlayStation booth would look like a D-pad. It was like, exit, like left, right, up, down.
I think it's hard because obviously there were so many lines there that you wouldn't have gone in. You'd feel like you're cutting in if you went in.
Yeah.
To go have a look at Neo.
Yeah. So we didn't check out Neo, but that was there. So then they had the medieval demo, the short-lived demo there, which I found was weird because obviously it was a demo that was available for everyone. I know it's disappeared now, but I'm like, the amount of people that were lining up for that though kind of showed me, as much as you're in your fucking memes over here, it showed me that people are interested in that game because every single day people were lined up to play that demo, and they had it behind a cool.
Yeah, because the line was shorter than Final Fantasy VII or Final.
Yeah, but everyone, all the things, go play a fucking game demo. That's anyway. So Medieval Devo was there. They had a Dreams booth thing in the middle. Although weirdly, I didn't stop to play it, but from when I walked past from Gabo, it was exactly what they had last year, which was the metamodical, like preset games stuff to play. Which seems weird because it's like the game's out in early access now. It's like, can't you just literally just have it set up and let people dream surf? Like try out random stuff.
Well, I guess they want to like not risk bad stuff showing up.
I guess, but it's just like it's exact same stuff.
You could have created like a curated list.
Yeah.
Of like
or
user-generated created stuff.
It's like the game's in early access now. Can you like change up the demo from last year? So I thought that was a bit weird. I like that it was still there, obviously, though. I just wish they'd done a little bit more to make it stand out from last year and use the fact that there's lots more stuff out now. They had Concrete Genie, several demos going on over the side. People were over there loving that. I think a lot of people were discovering the game for the first time from seeing it at PAX. I thought that was really good because obviously, and that's fine. The game literally came out the week before, wasn't it? Yeah.
Like your review dropped. No, it came out like the Wednesday or Thursday before.
Yeah, beforehand. Yeah.
Which is why I don't have it.
Yeah. So it was good that they had that there, and I saw lots of people there having fun with that. And every time I walk past, I'd be like, "Oh, the pretty game!" And yeah, that's a game that I think you walk past, you're just like, "Oh, like look at all the colors and stuff that's going on." So I'm hoping a lot of people discovered that game for it being at PAX there. And then they had the Iron Man VR, which was on 6 PSVRs, and that was it. They didn't have any other PSVR games. At all, so just that stuff. So that was the overall showing, and it's like, I guess the biggest first party, the biggest exclusive they had there was Final
Fantasy,
yeah.
Well, Final Fantasy and Avengers had the longest lines all weekend, arguably.
Yeah, they were massive
because there were 20+ minute demos, which didn't,
Yeah, I think they were talking about like cutting it, I think, when I got there on the first day, but I don't know if they ended up doing that, like shorting it. But let's dive into that. So the first thing I did when we got in Friday early went straight to Final Fantasy VII, and then I followed it up going to Avengers, which I thought was obviously very smart. I I think I made the best use.
Very smart.
Yeah, I feel like I made the best use of my time. I didn't fuck around. I wasn't like, oh, I'm going to chat to people or, like go look around or see what this place looks like. I opened up the map, saw where Sony was from the door I was entering, and just went, got straight into Final Fantasy. And it was very good because obviously Avengers was literally the line right next to it. So it's like I walked straight out of Final Fantasy, got into the line for Avengers, and then managed to do that one straight away. So, Final Fantasy, the demo that let you play for is the one that they've showed off heaps online already, so it's not like it was super groundbreaking stuff, but obviously the difference was I could actually feel what it felt like to play this time instead of just watching it, because it was the mission we've seen a lot, which is where Cloud and Barrett are going in to set the bomb in the place, and then the big spider boss thing comes down, and it's like what they showed off at E3 and all this stuff before, where it's like eventually in the boss fight, like cover comes down, you have to get behind it, and blah blah blah, all sorts of stuff is going on. So that's all you play for, and when you beat that boss, the demo ends. But it takes about 20 minutes. There's little to no exploring. There's like a short section at the start before the boss fight starts, where you're kind of coming down these stairs or whatever. You can open up some chests and defeat some random goons. But pretty much the entire demo is just this 15-minute. I get 15 out of the 20 minutes is probably just the spider boss.
Yep.
I definitely feel like they also upped what level you would be or your health you would have. That's like a normal sort of demo thing, I guess. But it's like I think Cloud had like 1,000 and something health, and Barrett had like 1,000 and something health, and I'm like, this is within the first like half an hour of the game. Well, from the original it would be. So, I don't know if that's going to change, but it's like I definitely felt like I was overpowered, or like it wasn't a challenge at all to do. But yeah, so we talked about before, obviously, when they announced the whole systems. And you were seemingly more excited for it because, be able to play it a bit more like Kingdom Heartsy, like, button mash and all that sort of stuff. That's 100% the way you can play it. You can just literally just mash square, I think it was, yeah. You can literally just mash square, and then Cloud will just like spin around, and you'll feel like you're playing a third-person action game, which is cool. And then if you switch to Barrett, you'll just feel like you're just holding down square, and he'll just like constantly like shoot at the enemies. It's like, brr, brr. So if you just like take everything else out of the game and walk past, it does look like you're just playing a third person, like Devil May Cry or some shit, with this character with a big freaking sword just flinging around, jumping around, and doing all this sort of stuff. Yeah. And it looks good and it runs well. It didn't have any slowdown or anything that was happening there. But yeah, then when you want to get into the more tactical stuff, I do like how it works, because it just, when you press X, it pauses the whole game, opens up the menu where you can select actions for characters. So you can press X, and then if you're playing if you're set as Cloud at the time, it's like you can click magic, do this, abilities, do this, whatever, use items, all that stuff from like normal turn-based JRPGs sort of stuff. But then you could also press the left or right on the D-pad to switch between characters, and switch to Barrett, obviously, and then you can set him to do moves and actions during this period as well. It's like the whole game's paused. There's no time limit. It's not like, oh, you have 30 seconds to make moves. It's like you don't need to feel threatened about what's going on there. You can then also like hotkey stuff though, much like Kingdom Hearts. Where you can press L1, is it? I think like brings up the shortcut menu for like you can set like fire and cure and all that. Yeah. So you can basically do that as well. So you could, like, if you want to set cure or any of those spells you want to use often, you'll be able to hotkey those, so you won't have to like pause the game to do them. You can just be like smash and square to do attacks, then quickly press L1 and whatever else to quickly use cure. So it definitely feels like a combination between like the Kingdom Hearts 3 and like Final Fantasy 15, like milled together some of that sort of stuff. The action-based combat, and then add in the ability to be able to pause the game and go into tactical mode, and that's kind of what Final Fantasy VII is like. But I just love how quickly you can switch between characters. Like it's just so fluid. It's no slowdown or anything. Like you could be like mashing square with Cloud and click right on the D-pad, and it'll just switch it about within a second. Like it doesn't like, there's no weird like, oh, it's loading or switching, like the camera like goes up into the air to kind of hide like a load screen type thing between switching characters. It just like whooshes straight across, back and forth between the characters. And then the other characters, the AI never does like any sort of, I kept switching back and forth real fast sometimes to see if the AI would do any sort of like weird like stutters, because it's like, what do I do? No, just it keeps attacking, keeps doing
targeting or something. Yeah.
Yeah, it just kept. It didn't do any of that stuff. So that was really good. So yeah, Final Fantasy VII, still keen. Didn't blow my mind away, obviously, because it's a demo we've seen heaps. It just got to confirm. It's like, it feels well. I like how fast this moves. Blah, 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 blah. The walking around felt weird is my only negative, I'd say, like at the start. I'm not going to judge too much on that, only because it's like, was in like a tight area and the camera felt like it was up Cloud's ass and I had like no room to like see what was going on. I don't know. Like if I could move the camera back a little bit or something, but I don't know if that's just where the camera's set for where that level is.
Because it was in a tight space.
Yeah, tight space. And I don't know if like you go into open up area and it'll move back a bit or something. So have to see. And Marvel's Avengers was meh. Is my overall thoughts on Avengers. I haven't been too hot on it anyway, like as is. I'd say it's like, much like Final Fantasy, it's something we've seen before. I got to play the full demo that they revealed the game with. But obviously they edited it a bit, didn't they? In that original one. It's like, oh, they showed a little bit of Cap doing this, a little bit of Iron Man doing this. They didn't show like the full gameplay.
In the reveal, they cut it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a cut trailer. With this is like the full Avengers Day bridge demo.
Which is basically, from what we gather, going to be the start of the game when it fully releases anyway. So it's sort of like a tutorial thing. So you play as Thor first, who comes down and you can use thunder and whatever else, bash enemies with square and triangle. It's whatever. But he does have God of War throw hammer stuff happening. You hold down L2 and then you can aim, press R2 or whatever to throw the hammer, and then you tap L2 to make it return, which is different to God of War, but it's fine. It's, as I kept saying to anyone, and I think even in my short video we put up on the channel about it, it's like it just lacks the oomph. It lacks the X factor that the God of War axe has to it. Like when that axe in God of War comes flying back, when you click triangle or whatever to make it come back, like when that thing you hear just like, and when it hits your hand, you just feel like that's a powerful fucking axe. Whereas every time I recalled this Thor hammer, it was just like, boop, it was like just a little boop into my hand. I'm like, it just doesn't feel strong enough. Like I want it to like blast through because it would hit enemies on the way back, which is cool, I suppose. But even then, it just didn't seem like powerful enough. It seemed lacking.
That seems like something they could fix. Like they can just adjust the rumble in the controller or something.
I guess it's like add more rumble, but no, make enemies fly further. I don't know, something. I just need some little bit of X factor there for it to feel. Because I'm like, Thor's hammer should feel as strong to me as God of War's fucking axe. You know what I mean? Like,
unless that's telling. It's actually a tie-in to God of War.
Yeah, sequel setup
ahead of the Ragnarok.
Yeah, got it.
Potential Ragnarok. Yeah.
So that first section was like whatever. You beat up some goons. This stuff, the older enemies you see in the demo all have levels too. It's like, oh, this enemy's level 5, this level's enemy 6, all this sort of stuff. Which, to me, it's like, oh, we can see the route this game's going. It's like it's going to be the Division, but with Avengers, I guess.
Yeah,
like that's basically what this game's going to end up being. The second section, you take control of Iron Man, and all his stuff is like set in the sky, or just above the ground, I guess. And that's just a lot of like third person shooty type stuff, I guess. It's like pew pew laser beams and all this sort of stuff. Very meh to me. It wasn't any more special than the Iron Man PS3 game I played back in the day. Like the movie tie-in one that I played. It was like whatever, it looks a little bit better, but like the combat wasn't super interesting. And then from him you go to Hulk. Hulk was sort of fun though, because they got like Hulk right. Where they failed to get Thor's like hammers oomph down, Hulk feels like he's gonna break shit. Like he feels heavy, he feels strong, like he's smashing through shit. You can jump up into there and do big ground pounds and they feel cool. You can grab someone and literally do like the Loki, like just like fucking hit them back and forward on the ground, like left right, which was pretty fun. And then there's also like they make you run across this bridge and then you have to do like lots of wall jumping basically as Hulk, which I thought was cool. It'd be like he'd like quickly jump to this like car and then like press off that and jump to another car and then leap across this bridge, and then there'll be all these people ahead and he'd like press square and he'd like come down and ground pound and like smash people. So Hulk felt like not much obviously to his combat because it's just like you're not dodging or whatever. It's just like you smash and shit, but it still felt like they got Hulk right in that fashion. And then from Hulk, you switch to Captain America, who definitely feels the most like you're playing a Batman Arkham game. It's like he's very fast, flippy stuff. You know, like enemies will have like little dodge counters, and you try and dodge them out of the way. Some of the enemies came in with like shields, and I don't know. It didn't come. I assume maybe in the real game it will give you like a tutorial thing, like it'll pop up what you're supposed to do to get around the fact they're shields. I was like, oh, I'm pretty sure this is what you're supposed to do, which is that I just aimed you could hold L2 to aim his shield, and I aimed his shield like just at the wall behind them. So it would throw the shield and the shield would then bounce off and hit them from behind, and then you could run up and then punch them while they were knocked off their feet kind of thing. But I found it weird the game didn't give me a tutorial. I feel like some people might be like, I can't, the shields, how do I get around the shields or whatever.
You just use the same disarm thing from Batman.
Yeah, I think that's
flip over him and then beat him from behind.
Yeah, maybe it's an upgrade. Maybe we'll find out. So that was Captain America. He was cool, but his stuff was kind of just in this one room, and it wasn't like. I felt like it was the shortest section, honestly. And then the last person you play is with Black Widow, and Black Widow is definitely the standout point, and I think that a lot has to do with she's the one doing the boss fight within the demo. So Taskmaster comes down, and then you like do a bunch of shooting against him. You're like, pew, 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 and then like he picks you up, and you're like fucking flying through the air, and you're like punching like quick time events like while you're flying. Then you end up dropping on top of the bridge, and then you're like up there, and you're dodging him as he's trying to fly down and swoop past you and all this sort of stuff, and you're like pew, 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 with your machine guns. Eventually he tackles you again and do a bunch of quick time events, and you end up on the ground and then do this cool fight where it's like you got to try and dodge his moves and then shoot your grappling gun at him and like pull yourself towards him to take him down. And eventually he does the whole Taskmaster thing of, no, I'll get smarter than you and learn all your moves, blah, 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 blah. And then Black Widow's like, fuck you, I'm smarter than you. And then she turns invisible. And he's like, oh, I will still figure it out. And she's like, you cannot beat what you cannot see. And then you beat Taskmaster, and that was cool boss fight to do. And then, as you see in the trailer, then the ship explodes and Captain America apparently dies, and
the Avengers disband.
And it comes up, pre-order the game or whatever, and that was the Avengers. I just feel like for like the characters that I was like, oh, this could be fun. It's like a negative sometimes in a game that just has too much, because it's like, well, I don't understand. Like, can I just play as who I like all the time? Like, this game is still very hard to understand what exactly.
I think they definitely need to show us another gameplay of, obviously what they're going to go for is like 4 people playing together at the same mission at the same time. Mm-hmm. So something like that, because obviously you're not going to get the same setup you're not going to have the same Hulk smash, wall jumps and that kind of thing on every single level. So
yeah,
seeing how a proper mission with 4 players works will be what makes or breaks this game, I think.
Yeah, so they're like, I can't remember, they said this around E3 time or something, I think, or maybe it was a bit after. They're like, there's going to be missions that are designed for 4 players, but you can play by yourself. And I feel like that's going to be the crux of the game, where most of the content's going to come from. Well, that's where all the extra content post-launch is going to go, obviously. And then they did say there's going to be a single-player-ish thing that are just missions you play solely by yourself. And I feel like that may be a very, 6-hour-ish, storyline you do by yourself. That's kind of more of a tutorial, I guess, to then be like, go play the other missions that are designed for multiple people to do.
It could just be like a spin-off stories, potentially.
Could be, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, it's just too hard to understand what the game is and to pick what I like. I'm like, I like this Black Widow fight. I like Hulk smashing. I'm like, how do these all fit into a game together? Like, if I jump into a match with someone, or if they steal my character, am I just going to be like, fuck this game? You know what I mean? Like, it's very. We're not going to have 4 Black Widows on a team, are we? Or do you reckon they're just going to be like, 4 Black Widows, all got different costumes on?
Depends on how well it's selling,
I guess. Yeah, so that's Avengers, and then the last thing that the both of us played at the PlayStation booth this year was Iron Man VR, your game of the show.
Yeah, it's freaking cool. Obviously, the only VR thing that I saw that we actually got hands on there was some indie stuff, but yeah, it is very impressive. You obviously, you're Iron Man. You're in the suit. You do the thrusters. It feels somewhat natural. There was some issues with like turning and that kind of thing, but apparently there's extra buttons that help that kind of thing. The demo is just you playing through like testing out the new suit, make sure everything's working properly. So you just shoot a bunch of drones and you race around like this. He's pretty much in that house from Iron Man 1, which is cool. So yeah, I enjoyed it. It was cool flying around. It felt like you're Iron Man. I mean, in that first sequence where you're flying towards the house and you have the title screens come up, it's like, fuck, this is cool. So yeah, definitely one of the most exciting VR games coming up.
Definitely exciting. Can't wait to play it and Last of Us 2 at the same time. Yeah, so it's funny how far it's kind of come, I feel, because remember when they revealed it and was like, Iron Man VR sounds cool, but like this trailer looked on rails and like...
Oh, yeah.
Don't know how interesting
it's not on rails.
No, and then it's like, yeah, now we actually get hands on it. It's like the game is not on rails at all. You can literally just fly around this huge open area and go up, down, left, right, do whatever we want to do. Yeah, so the one thing they fucked up that screwed you is that for whatever reason, and I assume this will be fixed upon full release, obviously, for whatever reason, they never pop up on screen and tell you that square and triangle, square, and circle, or whatever it is. I can't remember on the move controllers. Those two buttons on each of the move controllers let you turn at 90-degree increments. It doesn't say that at all in a demo, which is weird. And I just pressed those buttons out of habit from playing a lot of free moving VR games, I guess, because that's how they all work. Yeah. Any game that has like free movement in VR usually has those two buttons set to allow you to move in those increments. So I just pressed them. But have you played any like free movement or like?
Not much.
Yeah, not for you.
I can think of, yeah.
Brain to be used to it, I suppose. But yeah, then so it's like combining that so you can move at 90 degrees or whatever to kind of help you get around. But then it's like the thrusting stuff just works so well, and it really takes your brain a second to get used to it. It's kind of crazy because it's like you put both hands below, you'll go straight up. Both hands above, you'll go down.
Go down real fast.
Yeah, put both your hands to your right, you'll go right really fast sideways. Put one to your right, you'll go right slower, kind of thing. So then it is really like mastering a whole bunch of different movesets that could potentially make this game quite thrilling and hard, especially if there's like certain things to do, because it's like, you gotta be able to shoot, but you need to be able to use your hands to shoot, but then also coordinate between like switching to fly and then using them to shoot. And then like if you want to quickly stop to shoot a target, which you do in the tutorial thing, it's like you gotta remember that keep one hand by your side to keep yourself like moving, or like it's like it's like a lot of coordination.
Yeah, I also think the UI was pretty good. Like it showed in the bottom left corner of your screen, like how your body is like
placed,
positioned, or whatever. And then obviously you got your health bar and that kind of thing, but it didn't feel like it was taking up too much of the screen as well. So it felt like the actual helmet. Yeah, you're in. So that was cool.
Yeah, no, it I'm really looking forward to it, especially because it seems like it's going to be a much like Blood and Truth or something, like a 6-ish hour, hopefully like full on story, big action game in PSVR, which will be exciting because I want more of that, not just like couple hour experiences and whatever else. Not like 2-hour Iron Man game, no 6-hour Iron Man game. Fuck you. Potentially it could be the best Iron Man game we've ever had.
Well, I think it's not very hard.
Not very hard.
Benchmark, is it?
No.
But yeah, I think this is important for like VR in general to get these big properties on there. Like they obviously bring in eyes easily. They're like, it's Iron Man. It's a huge Marvel property in VR. Well, now I need to get VR. I wouldn't be surprised if there's like some VR tie-in deal bundle.
Yeah, it would make sense. It's funny because I'm seeing a lot of people jealous. I looked on a trailer. Of a day for it or whatever it was, and all the comments were just PC VR people getting shitty. They were all in the comments like, if you brought this to Vive, blah blah blah, it looks so much better, blah blah. Like that was all of the comments. So people want the game.
PS Now coming to
but not PSVR users apparently. yeah, that's PAX. That was PlayStation's PAX stuff that we checked out for this year. Obviously, I think next year is going to be massive. I think it's pretty safe to say. PAX will be on. The PS5 will most likely be a month out from release. Depending when they put PAX on next year, like if they move it back to the end of October, yeah, we could be literally like 4 weeks away from PS5 release. Then, if we're going to say the PS5 is probably going to release the end of November-ish, which is the likelier date at this stage. So massive freaking PAX, especially if Project Scarlet's there as well. It'll be like potentially two new consoles there. And tickets will probably sell out fast, so get prepared. As soon as tickets go up next week, buy them. They go up next week? No, probably not.
No.
Wait, next month, maybe? I don't know.
No.
Okay, just want everyone to be prepared. Let's move into a couple of news stories. There's actually not that much to go through this week. Rather slow news week, to be honest. The first they do have up. I don't think there's much to garner from this, but still, first PS5 Devkit photograph finds its way online. Writes Push Square. So those sketches or the blueprints or whatever that we saw pop up of the PS5 Devkit, which everyone was like, oh, like how representative of this. Of course, Devkits never usually look like the final product, but it's still like people try and garner signs of potentialness for the PS5 from it. The article says, remember when the first sketches of PlayStation 5 Devkit popped up online, we weren't sure whether they were real or hoax. It since emerged that the heavily ventilated box with the cutout V shape is indeed the real deal, and you'll find it in the office of dozens of developers around the world. Want more proof? Well, here's the first ever photo of it. So the photo is basically, Devkit basically does look like, exactly like the blueprint. It's a box that has a V, upside down V shape in it that is there for vents, which is the number one thing that people, of course, grab onto because the rest of it's rather Devkit boring stuff. It's just a bunch of light symbols, knobs, bunch of USB slots, blah 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 blah. But it's like they could have 25 USB slots on this, and that doesn't mean shit. Like they just put as many as they. Man, whatever.
They can fit.
Yeah, the number one thing that everyone focuses on is, of course, the fact that the V thing is real. Now, the V is ventilation. You can see that, obviously. It's like, there's a big V shape to allow for vents. Now, I'm like, I suppose that would be good ventilation, I suppose. Like, it's a big fucking gap. I'm like, are they just doing that because the Devkit sounds like a fucking jet plane engine and they haven't figured out how to cool the actual PS5 like properly yet? Or like, I'm like, maybe they could have like a similar sort of like they could be designing like this ventilation system for the PS5, but then it would be like under the layer of the hood, if you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe the V thing's real. Maybe the V thing is coming.
PlayStation 5.
Do you know what the Roman?
Yeah.
Do you know what the Roman numeral for 5 is?
V. Yeah.
Yes.
I think it would look stupid. I think it would look stupid.
It would. Especially when for the last few consoles, they've been mounting it vertically as well.
Yeah.
I don't think a V shape.
No. I don't think it could at all. maybe they've just put the V in the Devkit for 5. That's their joke. They're like, we won't do it in the real console, but for the Devkit, V for 5.
Mark Cerny was like,
he's like, I'm so smart.
It's 5.
Got him, guys. Get him.
So you won't get it mixed up with your other consoles.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Project Scarlet Devkit? No, we want this PS5 Devkit to stand out amongst the rest. So that's better you can garner from it. It says prototype 1, not for sale. Yeah.
Although it does say there's an image of an optical drive which is now confirmed to support 4K Blu-ray.
Yeah,
that's a big thing, isn't it?
They confirmed that in the Wired article that it was going to play.
Did they?
Yeah. Confirmed that it was going to play 4K Blu-rays finally, so which is good, obviously, because it's like, I swear to God,
because everybody plays 4K Blu-rays.
Well, I fucking do. It's bullshit. No, I just think
one less device.
If they'd released the PS5 and it didn't play 4K Blu-rays, I would have been like, there's no excuse now. There's absolutely no excuse. Like,
they need a future-proof. They need to make sure it plays 8K Blu-rays.
I don't think that's a thing. I don't think the
Well, didn't they say 8K and like?
Yeah, they're like, oh, PS5 plays 8K. Yeah, I don't believe that shit. The PS5 is not going to do 8K. The PS5 will do 4K, and it will do 4K upwards to 8K through some sort of processing or something. That's not true 8K. Those are buzzwords. They're all buzzwords to trick people. Some bunch of bullshit. You know who has 8K TV? No, you don't, because no one does.
Rich people?
No one. No one. Yeah, rich people.
Head of Sony.
Rich people watching fucking Desperate Housewives on it and they got too much money to spend and they're wasting their time. Next story, also from Push Square. Days Gone developer in pre-production on next title. Days Gone was a huge hit for first-party developer Sony Bend, and now the Oregon-based outfit is beginning pre-production on its next project. Senior staff lighting lead Jeremy Vickery, who had led the lighting team on Deacon St. John's debut, revealed on his LinkedIn profile that he's, quote, now involved in pre-production planning for our next title. So, I think that's a quick turnaround for them to be back into something this fast, to be honest.
Interesting that the lighting team is involved in pre-production.
Well, why wouldn't they?
I don't know.
I don't know what teams aren't involved in pre-production. What teams aren't involved in pre-production? Surely all teams would be involved in pre-production of some sort.
I guess. How are you supposed to light something until you've got something to light?
Yeah, but they could, for all you know, they could be like, oh, we want to have this like really good system, and then they need to go work on a new fucking.
We need to work on the sun for this world.
Yeah.
How is this sun going to be different to the sun in the previous games? How are the light bulbs going to be different?
Get excited.
We've got going all fluorescent in this one.
I think. The thing that's most interesting about this to me is that automatically you got to wonder is like, okay, so Bend is on production, probably going to be obviously a PS5 game. Days Gone took, I think, too long, to be honest. I think they were working on that forever. And I think a lot of that.
Well, to be fair, I think they worked on something that fell through.
Yeah, I think they had to they restarted whatever and.
A couple of times, maybe.
Yeah, I think they struggled a lot with Days Gone. I think it's evident in the final product that it's like a lot of ideas and mismatched things and, you know, like different things of different versions of games and ideas and whatever for the final product. I'm going to put my money on straight away that we're going to get Days Gone 2 because they put a lot of work, as we're saying now, into like creating those characters and that world and like systems and whatever else, like just the overall feel and look and world and characters and stuff that Days Gone. That was a lot of time. But also, as the article says, as much as that game didn't review well, like we gave it a 6 or whatever, and as much as I really liked the game,
middling reviews, yeah,
it got like that's a problem. Like I really, really, really liked Days Gone. Like I really like. By the time I reached the end of that game, I was like, I really like these characters and everything, but it's like this game has a lot of problems that are hard to overlook, and I feel like that's just the overall kind of consensus. But it sold really well, and people are still playing it. Like, it's one thing to be like...
It's so long.
Well, yeah, that's true. No, people still fucking play every time they keep dropping these free DLC updates, you know, of the challenges and... whatever else they keep doing, they keep having people come back and playing the game. I still see people on Twitter still in it, doing photo mode stuff, doing like pictures of horde challenges and all this sort of stuff. The game definitely hit, as much as it didn't hit well with critics and review scores, I definitely feel like it hit an audience. And I honestly wouldn't be surprised if at the end of the year it's like, I don't know what the numbers would be at now, but it's definitely going to be in like Sony's one of Sony's highest selling games of the year. Like, it's sold really well. So I guess that could play a part in Ben's quick like production turnaround straight into potentially Days Gone 2 or whatever they want it to be called, I guess. The other thing that's worth taking note, of course, is that Ben did Siphon Filter, and at this stage I'm not going to say this is a spoiler because it's months and months and months after Days Gone's release, but in Days Gone, they revealed that it's set in the same universe as Siphon Filter, so it's like, how's that all tie in? What do they do there? So, of course, people are going to theorize that they like, well, what if they're doing a Siphon Filter game next? Blah, blah, blah. I don't think so. I think it's definitely going to be Days Gone 2 because it's like, as much as they like sort of tied in Siphon Filter to the universe and like through some cool little Easter eggs and character mentions and all this sort of stuff that was really fun for fans, including myself, to be like, oh, they said so and so's name. I just definitely feel like they've put this much time. The Days Gone, and people have like it's struck a chord with people. That'd be silly not to just make a sequel and hopefully fix up a lot of the things that made the game struggle and a bit buggy and whatever else, and release a better version for the PS5.
Well, I mean, that makes the most sense. Like, you look through the history of games, and a ton of games that had good first entries, like have really great second entries. So.
Yeah. Yes. So I think Assassin's Creed's like my go-to example for that. I think, Assassin's Creed 1, all right, and then Assassin's Creed 2 is the one that everyone thinks about. Ezio Auditore, like that's where they changed a lot of systems, made the story more interesting, blah 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 blah. So, even Uncharted 1, I guess, Uncharted 1, it's fine. Uncharted 2, massive action blockbuster, go crazy. So,
holy shit, yeah.
So this is just something I'll point out of my own interest, basically because so Push Square wrote this story. Sammy Barker wrote it. It says PS4 devs are finding new ways to add more trophies to the games. So I read this and I was like, what? It says games are becoming relevant for longer, with studios supporting their software for years after release. It's nice for hardcore fans of certain titles to see the continued investment incentivized with new trophies, especially where expansive DLC is concerned. Fortunately, developers are finding new ways to reward players by crediting additional sets of trinkets for titles that already have loads of add-on packs. Hitman 2 is one example. The core set boasts an outrageous 125 trophies, which are divided between each of the title's levels. Because, however, creator IO Interactive is continuing to support the release, it's created a new set of trophies for the title named Additional Expansions. This, at the time of typing, already has 21 trophies assigned to it, meaning that there are a grand total of 146 trophies in Assassin and Adventure. So, I read this, I was like, I don't fully understand what this person is trying to say. So, which you may not as well as I was reading that. So I went and looked it up, and basically, if you go to PSN profiles and you go to games and you type in the word additional expansions, which it'll bring up 3 games, which I'll double check now in case there's the Magic Land. No, it's still just 3. So I was like, imagine if I'm getting a breaking news. So if you type in additional expansions there, you get 3 games. Hitman 2, Dead by Daylight, and Train Sim World. So what's happened? This is really interesting to me as someone who cares about trophies, obviously. When you scroll through your trophy list on your PlayStation, you know how each game has like a main thing. So I'll say like Hitman 2, for example, and then when you click on that, DLCs are assigned underneath it. And then you can click on separate DLC packs and it'll reveal the trophies for them underneath, kind of thing. And Hitman 2 is like the main folder, and then the DLCs are like subfolders. Let's call them that. So there's a main folder and there's a subfolder for any sort of game. You open up Uncharted or something like that. Main folder, main trophies, subfolders with DLC expansions. Call of Duty, main folder, trophies, subfolders with DLC trophies. So Hitman 2, the original list, main folder, subfolder of like 13 different subfolders with different trophies associated to them. They've hit the max though. So like, oh, we're still doing DLC. How do we get around this? Now, of course, the weird and interesting thing about this is why did Sony do lots of things when they created the PSN is a fucking great question that we've been asking for ages at this stage. But for whatever reason, when Sony created the PSN, along with the name weird shit that they did, which obviously was a bane of their existence for so long, they assigned a maximum point value that you could have for one game's trophies. Why? Don't know, but it exists. Now, to get around this, these 3 games here, including Hitman 2, have hit a limit, and then Sony has obviously allowed them to create another folder. So if you're scrolling through your trophy list, it'll say Hitman 2, that's one folder, with a bunch of subfolders in it, and then there's another main folder now called Hitman 2 Additional Expansions, which if you click on the additional expansions, the main folder has 0 trophies associated to it. It's an empty folder. it then has a subfolder for the first DLC, and that's got a bunch of trophies associated to it. It's not a completely different game. It's not a new version of Hitman 2. It is simply for the DLC that's getting it added on because they basically filled up the folder. Dead by Daylight has done the exact same thing. Dead by Daylight, additional expansions. Train Sim World has done the exact same thing. It's got a different folder called additional expansions. Yeah, and I just found this quite interesting because I'm like, Sony is like obviously allowing them to do this. And I guess like, I think that's kind of evident, especially because they all have the same wording, you know, like there's no flurry or different wording to any of it. It's all just Hitman 2 additional expansions, Dead by Daylight additional expansions. So Sony's allowing them to do it, I guess, because they realize they fuck up and they're like, well, want to add more stuff, you're fucked. But this is definitely a new thing because I remember years and years ago, like Sound Shapes hit the max amount of trophies you could get, and they were told, nah, can't, you fucked, like you've maxed out trophies, there's nothing you can do about it. Too bad now. I know other games that have maxed out trophies that maybe the developers don't even know they could do this yet. Like Rocket League, for example. I'm pretty sure that's maxed out in trophies or close to it at this stage. So it's like, if they want to add more DLC, which they will be adding more DLC, never ending, they'll probably end up having to do the exact same thing here. Rocket League 2, additional expansions. Now, of course, the main game of these trophy lists, none of them have trophies associated to them because they're not going to give you another platinum. They're not going to be like, oh, you can get another platinum because it's the exact same game. It's just an extended list of DLC trophies that are hidden under a different menu. Another game got around this weirdly a couple of years ago in a sort of similar way, which was Drive Club. Drive Club, the original game, which on your trophy list would just be called Drive Club, and then under that it would have all these subfolders of its DLC, and it ended up with like 13 DLCs. And then when it did its first big expansion, which was called Drive Club Bikes, which they ended up making bikes-related DLC for, they stuck Drive Club Bikes because they already maxed out the trophies under a different thing called Drive Club Bikes in the trophy list. Drive Club Bikes isn't a separate game. It is Drive Club still. It is an expansion, but that had all these trophies associated to it. And that was another weird one where you could buy Drive Club Bikes as a separate game. Like you could play the bikes stuff by itself without the main game. However, it would still just boot up through the Drive Club thing, and you would just get locked out of all the car content. And then you could only unlock the bikes DLC. But in that one, they actually had a platinum associated to it. So all sorts of weird shit's been happening lately over the last couple of years. These additional expansions are definitely a newish thing that's happened over the last couple of months I've only just become aware of, thanks to who wrote that? Push Square. Thanks to Push Square for pointing that one out because I hadn't noticed it all. So yeah, additional expansions now. If you see that, that means that the main game's trophy list has been filled, and now they're adding more trophies this way, which I think is good because, as I said, previously developers just got told, nah, too bad, get fucked. You can't add any more trophies. But now it seems that Sony is allowing developers to just make another menu. Now, obviously, I would prefer if the PS5 rocks around and they fix the PSN so you can just add them all into one thing, but the PS5 is an upgrade of hardware and it's not an upgrade of the PSN. The PSN is still going to be the PSN. And the PSN has lots and lots of problems, unfortunately. And that's my amazing trophy tip information I found out this week. Blew my mind. Blew my mind, Ash.
I mean, all they've really done is created a new game file, I guess, for trophies, and then just remove the base game.
Yeah.
Which allows the maximum amount of trophy points.
Yeah, so now they have
for DLC.
Yeah, so now I think it's 3,600 is the max. So now they'll just have 3,600 points open for more DLC. Cool though. It's one of those things.
Cool.
Yeah. Cool. Good job. Good job, Sony. Or whoever allowed this. Trophy Coordinator CEO Timothy Willems. I don't know if that's a real person. Thank you for joining us this week on Platinum Explosion. You can follow me on Twitter at Vivaladil, Vivaladil. Follow Ash on Twitter at Ashley Hobley, ASHLEYHABLEY. Follow the show on Platt Podcast on Twitter. Help out the show by giving us a review either on Apple Podcasts or Podchaser, or alternatively just send in a tweet to any of the above ats and be like, thanks for the trophy information this week. It was great. I feel like I learned something. Yeah, I'll be like, oh, cool, thanks very much. ExplosionNetwork.com/Discord to join our Discord, and you can do any of the above and ask for trophy tips, information, and whatever over there. And this is, of course, a product of Explosion Network, on which you can find many more shows, articles, news, reviews over ExplosionNetwork.com. And you can follow Explosion Network on Twitter at ExplosionPod. Bye.